Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Caplen, editor of The Banker. I'm here with Danielle Myles, the capital markets editor, and we're reviewing the Banker's top 1,000 for 2017. Danielle, I mean, when we look at the overall position, where are we with things like capital and profits?
What's really clear is how much stronger the banks are today compared to sort of the outbreak of the financial crisis. So the top 1,000 banks in this year's rankings hold more than 70% more Tier 1 than they did back in 2008.
Okay, and what about profits though?
So profits is quite a different story. So I guess sort of for policymakers, they're obviously very happy about the capital position. For the banks themselves, it just means their troubles have moved on to returns. Saying that, there are some regions that are performing better than others.
Okay, and one of those regions, I think, is the Middle East.
That's right. Somewhat surprisingly, the Middle East has endured the oil crisis very well. So cast your mind back to just a few years ago, many analysts were predicting sort of disastrous results for some of the banks sort of over the next few years. But their profits are down a little bit over the past 12 months. But
so this seems to be a case of them managing the fall in the oil price effectively?
Absolutely. No, it seems so. I mean, even their liquidity levels are holding up quite well. Deposits haven't shrunk as much as many people expected, and they've really proved rather resilient through this troubling period.
Okay, and it's actually been a rather good year for emerging markets in general, and particularly what we call the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China. What's been happening there?
That's right. It's sort of a bit of a resurgence for the BRIC acronym, I guess, largely thanks to Russia and Brazil. So both of them have obviously had sort of very troubled economies over the last few years, but their banks really bounced back last year. Their profits are up. Well, in Russia, they're up nearly 400%, in Brazil up nearly 200%.
And how much is that effect of their currency strengthening, and how much is it bank performance?
That's right. So their currencies did recover last year, around about 16%. Saying that, even taking that into account, their profits would have still been up anyway. So we can't just say that is thanks to their currencies improving. Okay,
now let's finally turn to Europe. And the news there is still pretty bad, huh?
It is. So unfortunately, Europe is at the other end of the spectrum when it comes to profits. Saying that, some countries are performing worse than others. So Italy is the worst performer in Western Europe, and Portugal is not far behind. At the other end of the spectrum, you have France, which is really holding things together for the rest of the region. I mean, it only has 6 banks in the top 1,000, and they make nearly 30% of Western Europe's profits. So they're really holding the region together.
Okay, and have we hit bottom in Italy, do you think, or are we going to see worse coming?
Well, obviously, there's been some more recent news in terms of 2 of the regional banks which are being wound up. A lot of the loss was to do with UniCredit, which was the biggest loss-making bank in the rankings this year. But that was a lot to do with one-off charges. They've recently done a capital raise, so you never know, things might be turning around. Let's hope so.
Danielle, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.